As we're coming to the conclusion of the NBA season, um, yesterday there was some talk, or today there were some talks that Julius Randle should be in the MVP race because the Knicks have done so well this season, and I kind of want to put this in perspective. The Raptors in the 2013-14 season was the first winning season they had since I believe 06, 07. And I was ready to give, Dwayne Casey Coach of the Year, DeMar DeRozan, the MVP. Rookies, I don't think we had anyone that season, but Dwight Bikes, the Rookie of the Year, most improved to whoever. I was ready to give everyone to Toronto because I was so happy that, we were winning again. And it's kind of been the same for the New York Knicks this season. Julius Randle's had a hell of a season. First time All Star. He's been a really good pickup. I've always been a Julius Randle guy. I think a lot of people. He was on that, I believe, that Lakers team, LeBron's first year, and a lot of people kind of wrote him off back then. But the Knicks have just really done really well this season. RJ Barrett's had a really good sophomore season. Emmanuel Quickly's had a good rookie season. Obi Toppin, they're still kind of waiting for. Derrick Rose is a really good pickup, which I did a piece on Derrick Rose once the trade went through for Dennis Smith Jr. But he's been a steady veteran presence for the team, and I think that's what the team kind of needs with a lot of young players going forward. And the Knicks have two picks this year in the draft. I believe they have Dallas's pick, which could be even higher if Dallas doesn't make the playoffs, although I think Dallas will. Two picks that you can kind of lure in, maybe even a bigger player if you trade that pick and you get a proven veteran back, maybe a 3-and-D guy or something like that. But they're headed down the right road. Knicks fans have something to cheer for. Again, a lot of us were tired of Knicks fans, photoshopping various free agents into their jerseys, which is something that Knicks fans are known for. There's a whole KD and Kyrie Irving thing, I guess 2 years back or last summer, or whenever it was, with the COVID stuff. It feels like, 2 years ago was 5 years ago, and 6 months was like a year ago. But we saw what happened with the Kyrie and Durant thing, and I actually thought that they would go to New York, which they obviously ended up going to Brooklyn. But the Knicks are feeling nice. So now going forward, what I like to do in every sport is every year there's at least one team that kind of comes out and surprises a lot of people, whether it is making the playoffs or the finals or whatever the case may be. And I think New York, for a lot of people, is that team this year in the NBA. Sure, you could throw the Utah Jazz there, you could throw the Phoenix Suns up into that discussion as well. But I think New York, me personally, I thought New York would be in a fight to make the playoffs this season. So I thought that they would finish. I think best case scenario for them this season would have been the play-in game. So if they finish anywhere from 7th to 10th, I guess, that was kind of the max for me. I thought that would have been a really good season for New York. And now they sit whatever it is, 5th or 6th. They just had their winning streak snapped. But they're on the right road. So what I want to see for next season is, like I said, there's always those teams that kind of come out of nowhere and they surprise people and they make the playoffs, like I said, or the finals, whatever the case may be. Next year, does that continue for the Knicks, or was this kind of like a one-off? And we've seen a lot of surprises throughout sports the last, I guess the last year being the COVID year, we've seen a lot of surprises. So, and there's always that team that kind of makes the playoffs, as I said, and then the next year they kind of fall back on hard times. If you want to use OKC last season, you can, but they also lost a really good player in Chris Paul, so it's not really fair to put them in that discussion. But like I said, it's important to see what happens with the Knicks going forward. So what happens next season? Are they going to go out and sign free agents? Are they going to retool, or are they just going to add pieces where they think, just to plug some holes that they still have in the roster? But obviously with Julius Randle and RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly, they have a really good core, I guess, that they can build around. And Tom Thibodeau should be in discussion for Coach of the Year. It might be a little bit tough with Snyder from the Utah Jazz. They're vying for that spot as well. And I think Monty Williams, I guess, the coach of the Phoenix, is going to be in those talks as well. But I think most people had Utah and Phoenix in the playoffs as is. And, the New York Knicks just making the playoffs, I think, is a bigger achievement than maybe what those two teams have done in Phoenix and Utah. So Tom Thibodeau should be in the top three there in terms of the coach of the year. Like I said, just for next year, you kind of watch what the Knicks are doing this offseason. If they retool, if they add another big player, Bradley Beal, his name is going to float out there as well this offseason. If they could put a package, maybe get him. There's always players that kind of maybe that we didn't think are going to get traded that end up getting traded. And I think that's what the Knicks might look at this season prior to the draft, where they can kind of package maybe a draft pick and some of the players on the roster to get even better. So maybe a guy like Robinson gets thrown in the trade talks, and maybe Emmanuel quickly as well. But great season for the Knicks. Does Julius Randle deserve to be discussed in MVP talks? Yeah, sure, why not? I mean, it's been a very weird year. And then people start throwing out all these stats. His points per game and rebounds and stuff are really good. But then when you get into like true shooting percentage and stuff like that, I think he's like 30th or something like that. But whenever a team's a feel-good story, you have to kind of throw out their best player in the MVP discussion. So are the Knicks back? As of right now, this season, yes, the Knicks are back. Let me know below if you guys think the Knicks are back or if this is just a little bit of a one-off.